This next section that we're going to talk about is keeping a class going. How do we keep a class alive? Have you known of a literacy class that started well but never ended well? The history of adult literacy has many examples of classes started but soon stopped. One of my literacy mentors, his name was Dr. Dyson, he used to say, "The bones of dead literacy classes cover the pathway of literacy education, and every bone on that pathway means a disappointed adult student and a disappointed literacy teacher." So why do classes die? Let's talk about that. Well, because students stop coming, or sometimes because even the teacher stops coming. But why do students stop coming? Let's look at that first. Sometimes problems at home or at work make it necessary for an adult to stop coming to class. Though you may not be able to solve all their home problems or work problems, you can control what happens in the class. And there are some things you can do to keep a class alive and thriving. Number one, be faithful with your time. Be there every single time that the class meets. Even if no student shows up, you be there, you show up. Be ready to start on time, but be understanding with those who may be arriving late because of some problems at home or problems at work. End the class on time. This is just as important as starting on time. Women especially often need time to get home to cook for their families. If you consistently end late, those women may be forced to stop coming. Number two, be friendly and show interest in the family and in the work of each student. Ask them about their children, ask them about their family, their lives outside of class, their work. Remember that adults crave attention. But whereas children show their need for attention, adults tend to hide their need for attention. So be the friendliest person they meet each week and take a genuine interest in their lives. Number three, visit absentees. If an adult is absent once, ask other students about that person. After 2 absences, ask another student to go visit him. After 3 absences, though, go and visit the student yourself, as long as it's culturally appropriate to do so. Now, why do we do this? 3 absences puts adults so far behind that they may decide to just not come back to class at all, unless the teacher promises to help them catch up with others in the class. If this happens, try to meet with the students outside of class to help them catch up. This will allow you to focus all of your time and attention on that student without hindering the progress of the rest of the class. Yes, I know it's a lot of extra work for a teacher to meet outside of class and help that student to catch up, but you may very well rescue that student who would have otherwise dropped out. Number 4, be sure every adult learns something new and useful during each class time. As they leave your class, if they have something good to remember, if they've had a good time, if they've learned something new and useful, they'll be likely to return. Also remember to incorporate games into your class because students love games. In Nicaragua, we had several students who were crazy about our literacy games, and usually the first thing out of their mouth when they would walk through the door to start class was, "Hey, can we play that game that we did last week?" And they were just so eager to play literacy games, so remember to use them as a leveraging tool to bring them back. Number 5, be an interesting teacher. How? Well, show interest in your students. Take time to share with them. Learn all of their names. Ask them what is going on in their lives. Greet students happily. Never show your problems or your headaches with them that may hinder the class. Bring interesting objects to the class like photos or pictures of your family. Think of exciting events or questions that you can discuss with your students. Discuss things that are relevant to them or things that concern them. Sing literacy songs. We challenge teachers to compose a literacy song for their own literacy ministry. Now, these songs should be easily memorized. They should have a catchy tune. They should encourage students to keep coming. They should encourage students to keep reading. They should encourage students that the Word of God is a powerful tool for their own spiritual development. You can also let students sing their favorite songs or hymns in class and encourage clapping and dancing and moving around, anything to make the class more dynamic and to get them out of their chairs, especially in the middle of a long class. Let's continue now with another aspect of keeping your class healthy, and that is to set goals, to reach goals, and to award those goals. So first, let's set a goal. For example, a goal may be finish book 1 of the primer. Another goal may be finish book 2, and then finish the next post-primer reader that you're going to introduce, and then ultimately to read the Bible, etc. This is just an example. Next, reach the goal. Do this step by step, faithfully and consistently making progress to reach that goal. And then thirdly, award the goal. Award certificates or a combination of certificates and seals as soon as possible after they are earned. Then set the next goal and repeat the same process of setting, reaching, and awarding goals. We can't forget the worthy goal of using the skill of reading and writing in order to improve the person's life and their income, and also the most worthy goal of knowing God through His Word and experiencing that abundant life that Jesus talked about in John 10. As mentioned earlier, the ultimate goal of any literacy ministry is to enable people to read the Bible. Now, usually, students can go from an LEI primer straight to an easy-to-read version of the Bible. Other times, though, they need post-primer materials in order to increase their reading ability, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in another section. When this is the case, though, the goal of being a daily Bible reader can seem very distant and unreachable to a non-reader. But when we have smaller steps to reach our main goal, it helps the students stay motivated. I'm going to show you a diagram here to kind of illustrate that point. Here we have an example of an unreachable, daunting, intimidating kind of goal. We're starting here at 0. The students know nothing, they're non-readers. We have this very big goal of reading the Bible, which is one of the biggest, thickest books around. Now, if you say, okay, we're going to start here and our goal is to read the Bible, it's kind of intimidating for students. So what we recommend is start here from the beginning, from square one, and then set a short, attainable goal to finish book 1 of the literacy primer. Book 1 is usually about 26, 27 lessons. Then the next goal would be finish book 2 of the literacy primer. Again, it's another shorter, more attainable goal. Then next we have post-primer 1. PP stands for post-primer. Post-primer 1. And that would be whatever post-primer material you choose to introduce, whether it's Gospel of John, a little booklet, health and agriculture materials, or anything that you can get your hands on that would be a good bridge material between the end of book 2 of the primer and the Bible. And in here you can have post-primer 2, post-primer 3. You can set many other goals. Ultimately, our end goal is always going to be reading the Bible, and that's really what we're striving for. But in order to give students something to aspire toward and something to work toward, we try to break it down into smaller, more attainable goals. That will really help to motivate your students and help them to stay engaged in the class, and those certificates and those awards will really inspire them to keep going to the next phase. Lastly, in setting goals for your class, remember that every student is going to be different. Some students, for instance, will be able to go from the primer to an easy-to-read Bible. And if you feel your student can do this, then your goal then becomes to help guide them into Bible reading. If you feel that he's not ready yet, then guide him into other post-primer books. And this will help him to transition into Bible reading. Always use the easiest to read translation of the Bible that's available. I can't stress this enough. This should go without saying, but many pastors will still encourage their members to read only the King James equivalent of their Bible in their language because they feel somehow it's more inspired. But translations that use archaic and complicated vocabulary or grammar should be discouraged by the literacy teacher as well as the pastor. They're just way too difficult for the new readers. So carefully considering all these factors that we've mentioned will be crucial in causing your class to not only survive, but to thrive. Also, feel free to contact us with any specific questions or problems that you may encounter with your class, and we would love to help.